Hey everyone, very warm welcome to this evening's Facebook Live broadcast. I thought I'd do a quick intro for those of you who didn't know who I am, whilst we're just waiting for people to pour into the room, and in case you're watching the recording you'll probably see this as the first thing. So my name's Ollie, I run a business called E-commerce Freedom. I'm the owner of this group, Automate Amazon UK, and I'm an Amazon business owner. I've been running my Amazon business for a couple of years now. I've done over $800,000 in revenue, and I made it my mission to help normal people, as in people who haven't got loads of business experience, like me when I started, how to go from having nothing, no resources, no experience, very little capital, to being able to build wildly successful, hands-off Amazon businesses that can be run predominantly from a laptop. So on tonight's Facebook Live stream, what I'm going to be talking about is the risks. What are the risks involved in running a private label business? Because everyone talks about the benefits and what you can achieve and how you can hit your goals and stuff with private labels, and that stuff's all relevant and true and good, but obviously a big part of running any business is managing and mediating and understanding risk. So if we can attack what risks exist in a private label business, make sure they're being managed and controlled properly from the get-go, then you have a much larger chance of being successful. So I've just jumped in seen a bunch of people jump in. Hey guys, how we doing? Hey Curtis. So guys, what you can do, I'm going to be talking for a couple minutes about some of the stuff that I want to deliver to you, some of the content I've got for you. But please ask questions. Ask as many questions as you like, because I'd love to hang around and actually help you out. If you're running a business right now, or thinking about running a business, selling on Amazon, then do type your questions in and I'll answer them, and I'll take the time to have a conversation with you about this stuff. Awesome. Hey Alex, how you doing? Just to let you know, I'm in Sweden right now. And if you guys didn't know, I actually run my entire Amazon business from Sweden. I sell in the US, and I sell in the UK, and I sell in Europe as well, and I run it all remotely. So if you weren't aware that this business can be run remotely, then man, it can, and it's awesome. And next week I'm heading off to Tom Wade's event in Switzerland, which is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. So hopefully I'll maybe see a couple of you there as well. Awesome, so let's get to it. What are the risks? What are the things that could go wrong inside an Amazon business when you're importing products from China to sell on your account? What are the things that you really want to avoid happening? Well, the first thing that could potentially go wrong, and I've actually had a few people email me and say that they've experienced this thing in the past, and unfortunately it has happened to me as well, is if you choose a product to import, sell on your account from China, which is what I class as a hassle product, right? So literally any type of product that could have a big obvious problem with it would pose a massive risk if you're going to sell it on your account. So anything that's really kind of big, complicated to use, complicated to build in the manufacturer's point of view in the factory, anything that's very breakable and is going to break in shipping or have problems at any end of the spectrum, whether it's from the manufacturer or whether it's when it's being shipped or delivered to the customer, if something can go wrong with the product on any of those points, then it's generally a bad product. So what I tend to do is encourage you to focus on low hassle stock. So this means stuff that's small, light and durable, right? This means that if you stick to those kind of products, then you've got a much higher chance of having no hassle, no problems in the importing process, and having a lot more success with the import. Like ideally we'd have nothing go wrong with the import, get the stock here safely, and get it into your account without any problems and to the customers without any problems and no returns, right? So getting low hassle stock's really important. Small, light and durable. But also there's a couple things you want to think about as well. I probably wouldn't start off in categories that are going to be a pain in the arse, like electronics, like beauty, like groceries. Like if you can avoid those three categories as well and find a product that's just simple, you just take it out of the box and you just use it. It's made of plastic or something that's very durable. You're going to cause yourself so much less hassle and less stress. Okay, so that's kind of the first risk we've already mitigated. Stick to low hassle products. And I said this in my video series, in my ebooks, and I just constantly say this. Please don't try and make this stuff complicated for yourself. Don't import electronics. There's so much stuff that could go wrong with those products. Okay, so if you stick to low hassle products like spatulas, garlic presses, whatever else everybody goes on about, that are simple things, you will thank yourself when it comes to importing the stock. So the second thing that a lot of people worry about, and this is something that really isn't actually that much of a big deal, is getting scammed by the manufacturer. Now I know the sticking point, the number one sticking point, this is from experience of teaching over 350 students, tons of one-to-one clients, and just having thousands of people email me all the time about their experiences. I know from all that data, from all that experience, the number one sticking point of starting and building a successful private label business is the import. It's not the product selection. That bit's kind of simple. You can look on Amazon and find something cool to import, right? You can put the things on the database. We love doing that because it's like daydreaming. It's like thinking about all the profit you can make. It's not the getting the stuff to sell and the marketing. That stuff's relatively simple as well. Once you understand what to do to get stuff to sell, if you've chosen good products, that stuff's not too hard either. It's sitting on a laptop. The scary part of launching private label products is sending money to a Chinese supplier that you've never met and never seen. Right? And it makes sense. I was scared the first time I did it. And I think the first big import, first time I sent a lot of money to a Chinese supplier, I think I sent over £3,000 to them with a TT transfer, bank transfer. And I was scared. Like I talked to them and I knew they were a legitimate supplier and I got a sample from them, but still I knew I was still a bit scared, and it's understandable. Right? Everybody goes through this, and it's really a tragedy that a lot of people never even start their business, even though they found a perfect product, because of this fear. So I want to help you eliminate this fear a little bit and get a little bit less scared about choosing a manufacturer, choosing a supplier. Give you a few tips you can use to make sure the person you've chosen to do business with is real, legitimate, and is going to be good for you long into the future. Like you want to build a relationship with your supplier, right? So there's 3 things to look out for. When you're on Alibaba website, there's 3 things to look out for when you're choosing a supplier. Very, very simple. You can actually choose this in the filters. If you do like an advanced search on the platform, you can check these boxes and then you'll only list suppliers who have got these attributes. First one, ideally you want them to have trade assurance. Okay, what that means is if anything goes wrong with the stock at any point during the import, you're covered. Okay, it's kind of like insurance type thing, but it covers you if something goes wrong. So if they've got trade assurance, then you know that they're probably a legitimate supplier. Second thing is checking that they're a gold supplier, and you probably want more than 2 years gold supplier. Now the way this program works with Alibaba, I'm not quite sure how much they have to spend to maintain their gold supplier membership, but I think it's around about $5,000 a year in US dollars, which is a considerable amount of money. A scammer isn't going to get a gold membership for more than 2 years, because you know the way scammers work. They go into business, make a ton of money, or try to, and then they leave, right? Because if they stick around too long, they're going to get caught. So anybody who's got gold supplier for more than 2 years, you can trust. Like, it's very unlikely that anything would go wrong. And then the third and final check, just to make sure that the company is doing what they say they're doing, has been checked by a third party, is to check the on-site check box and make sure that's visible on Alibaba. That means somebody's actually gone to their warehouse, verified they're doing what they say they're doing. So if they make textiles or mesh or metal or plastic, somebody's seen them doing that, checked all the workers, had a look at what's going on, and proven that they're not just saying they're doing one thing and then doing another. Okay, so there's 3 things there to check when you're on Alibaba as a recap: trade assurance, gold supplier, and on-site check. Now, if your supplier has those 3 things, it's very unlikely that anything could go wrong. Right, you're pretty much covered. You've chosen a supplier who's kind of like a pro supplier in the eyes of Alibaba, and it makes sense to trust them at this point. but you still might be a little bit uneasy, as I was, as many people are, especially when you're sending money to the supplier for the first time, especially if it's a lot of money to you, like £3,000, like you wouldn't want to, throw that down the drain or anything. So my best advice for you in choosing a manufacturer is make sure you have a chat with them on Skype first. A lot of the time they'll be very happy to do this. They want to talk to you. In fact, one of the, I'm going to show my cultural ignorance here, but there's a concept known as guanxi in China, where they have a slightly different take on how you build professional relationships in China compared to the West, right? You're expected to have a meal with somebody, meet their family, talk about current affairs and your interests, and get to know someone as a friend before you dive in and make an offer, right? So if you are actually willing to Skype a supplier before you start doing business or before you send them money, they really appreciate it. Generally, I'm generalizing. Obviously, not the whole of China will be the same, but this is kind of the way it works, and generally they will respect it if you want to chat with them on Skype. So what you can do is just keep asking questions, and if somebody's lying or somebody's a scammer, sooner or later they're going to reveal it through answers to your questions, because things aren't going to add up and you're going to find out what's going on and get to the bottom of it. So once you've checked all those 3 boxes, before you send your supplier money, just chat to them on Skype for a while, and that will make you feel a lot better. As soon as you've seen their face, had a talk with them, then you will feel a lot better, and there'll be more chances of you actually pulling the trigger on your import and getting the stock in. And I just want to remind you of the potential. Like, if you do actually go ahead and move forward with your private label import, like if you guys have been doing arbitrage, like if you guys are sitting on here now, if you just type in the chat, how many of you are doing arbitrage? Just type I'm doing arbitrage now in the chat. I want to see how many of you guys are doing it. I don't know how quick the chat's working, but I mean, a lot of people in this group do arbitrage because it's easy. Like, you don't have to commit. You just buy 5 or 10 products, send them in, see how it goes. Lots of you are doing it. Like, the jump to private labels can be a bit scary, but it is worth it. It's so much more hands-off, and it took me a while to transition properly as well. So don't be scared. Get those products imported. Trust me, it will be worth it. And another thing you can do as well, just to make yourself feel more confident, is get a sample from your supplier. Right? This is always something you should do anyway, because you want to see, feel, touch, experience the process of using your product before you sell it. But getting the sample from a supplier can be like a test, if that makes sense. Like, if they're very responsive during the process of sending you a sample, the sample comes safely, and it's well packaged, and they've given you the tracking and everything, there's a lot higher chance that they're going to be a good supplier and want to work with you seriously. Okay, so once you've considered all these things, check the 3 boxes: trade assurance, gold supplier, and you've checked that they've had an on-site check, plus you've Skyped them, plus you've got a sample. I mean, there's nothing to worry about. You can send the money in any way, except for Western Union. I probably would never go near that, because it's, like giving somebody cash. It's probably not the best way. Other than that, you can send the money however you like. TT, PayPal, whatever. And you can know that you're dealing with a real supplier. Okay, so that's the second risk kind of handled. I wouldn't want you to be worried or freak out about the fact that you might get scammed. 99% of the businesses on Alibaba in China are like you and me. They just want to run a business, legitimate business, and just build relationships with people, and they're honest people. It's only a very, very tiny, minute quantity of people who are looking to scam you or get money out of you illegally or just do dodgy stuff, right? It's not likely that that's going to happen. So I don't want you to ever worry about that kind of thing. And finally, the final risk, which is another real risk, which I spend, heaps of time covering with my one-to-one clients in courses and stuff, is the worry that once your stock hits the warehouse, what if it doesn't sell? That is a scary thought, right? You've spent 3 or 4 grand on products, sent them into Amazon, and crickets. Nobody wants to buy it, no one wants to give you any money, and you've embarrassed yourself in front of all your friends, chosen a crap product, and things have just gone down the drain. There's ways you can definitely make sure that never happens. And to be honest, product selection is a whole big thing. If you haven't seen my video series yet, I can give you a link or something, but video 2 explains this in great detail. But there's 3 things you can check a product has to be 100% sure it's going to sell before you even spend any money on stock or even send it into your account. And here they are. The first thing you always want to make sure your product has, your specific product that you're selling, is evidence on the marketplace that customers are willing to pay for your product, right? So what this means is you want to see sales going through on the Amazon marketplace of your product. Okay, you want to see revenue in Jungle Scout. You want to see products that are the same as yours or similar with low bestseller ranks. Now, it's hard to tell you exactly what to look for, but generally when I'm importing a product, I want to make minimum of $2,000 a month with the product. So you want to see evidence that, say, 3 or more competitors, top competing sellers selling your product, are doing that. So you could get up Jungle Scout, see that they're making, say, 6, 8, 10k in sales per month. If they're doing that, they're definitely making more than $2,000 a month in profit, and therefore this product has volume. Other people are successful with it. The marketplace wants it. Okay, so that's the first thing, volume. Secondly, once you've established, people want this thing, it's going to sell, customers are spending money on it, you want to make sure it's not too crazily competitive. If you enter into a marketplace where there's loads of people competing, national brands competing, well-established sellers competing, you as an individual seller with your new shiny products that no one's ever seen probably aren't going to stand too much of a chance of making it a success, right? Especially if you don't have much budget for marketing. And you know, some of these people making, say, 100, 200k a month with their private label products have spent so much on advertising, so much on huge marketing campaigns, and it's not realistic to expect you're going to do that in your first couple of months. I'd stick to 2k profit per month. That's a realistic goal, and it's achievable, and you could do it relatively quickly. I've done it several times relatively quickly, sometimes in the second month of my products hitting my account. So aim for that volume, but make sure it's not too competitive. And the way you can check that is have a look at the levels of reviews of similar products to yours in the marketplace. So, I mean, to give you a number, a vague kind of number, you wouldn't want there to be 3 sellers with more than 400 reviews. Like when you get to 400, 500, 600 reviews, you're entering into the sort of moderately competitive marketplace. 1,000, 2,000 reviews, very competitive, right? So keep it below 400, and you know, the less reviews other sellers have, the better. That means that the product isn't very established yet. There's a lot of room to compete, and you can come in and have a really good chance, good fighting chance of getting sales with your product. So they're the 2 first things: volume, but not so much volume that it's ridiculously competitive, and never compete with national brands. You wouldn't want to compete with like Kenwood or anyone that you really recognise as a home brand. You know, something that people would instantly recognise and be magnetised towards that product because of the brand. You'd avoid competing with that. And then finally, the third piece of the puzzle to figure out that your product is definitely going to sell is whether you can add value to the marketplace with your version of the product. Now, it's useless to just import the exact same model of a product that is selling very well already. Because why would customers buy your product over the current product in the marketplace that has more reviews than you, is more well established, and that seller probably sells more products, maybe has an even longer Amazon selling history, right? You want to sell something that adds something to the marketplace, gives customers a reason to buy your product over all the other products. Like, there is going to be better sellers there. There is going to be products that have more reviews than you. So you need a very convincing reason why your product is better than the other products in the marketplace. Now, in order to establish this, there's several ways you can do it. Like, there are many ways you can add value to the marketplace with your product. You could have a look at what the customers are complaining about in the reviews, negative reviews of other products in the marketplace. You can search for words like wish, want, doesn't have, do like Control F search and see what customers wish the product had, and then offer that with your product. You could bundle in other stuff with your product and make it better by just having more stuff with it together. There's loads of ways you can add value. You could offer something that just isn't there in the marketplace at the moment, or offer something that's doing really well in the US right now that isn't happening in the UK, or if you're selling in the US, then offer something that a UK product has and is doing well with that a product in the US doesn't have. That's one of my favourite ways to add value to my products, by stealing things blatantly from other marketplaces across the globe. So they're the three things that you can absolutely be sure your product will be a smash hit if your product has those things. Value, value, enough volume, but not too much competition. Okay, once you've got those things in your product, you don't really have to worry too much. The worst thing that could happen is it will sell too slowly and you will just not reorder as fast, or just choose another product, or make a few tweaks to your marketing to boost up the sales. So those three things are the keys to really making sure you hit the nail on the head with your product. And we've got a few questions coming in. I'm going to get to them in a sec. I just want to say one last point. One very effective strategy that you can implement to make sure your products do sell is a test batch. You could order 50, 100, 200, 300, 500 units as an initial test batch of your product before you go ahead and import a huge amount. And what this would do is verify that the customers want your version of the product. Now, it depends on what you're selling and what your supplier can give you as to what you'll be able to provide as a test batch. Sometimes the minimum order quantity really is 300 or 500 and you just can't get it down. You've got a few options there. You could go to AliExpress and buy some similar kind of product and use that as a test batch to see if the same kind of product will work well. Or you can just choose another product if capital is a bit of a problem or you really are risk averse. But I'd say a couple hundred units is a good test batch, validating that you've made the right product choice. So if your stock has a good amount of volume on the marketplace, it's making sales right now, not too much competition, and you're adding value, plus you've done a test batch and the thing is sold, you don't have to worry. You should be importing as much of that thing as you possibly can afford and put money into marketing to get it to sell. So these are the three risks. Keep your products low hassle. Don't import products that are going to cause you a lot of hassle. Don't get scammed by manufacturers. It's difficult to get scammed, but make sure you follow those points so you don't. And finally, make sure you import stock that is going to definitely sell, because why would you want to import products that aren't going to sell? Right? Okay, so you may have noticed that over the past week I've been doing a lot of promotion, talking, videos and things, because Private Label Beast, my private label course, is opening tomorrow. Right? Last time we opened, we had a load of people join the course, and it's awesome, and they're crushing it right now. But I'm opening the doors again for a week, and there's a load of unbelievable bonuses. So the thing is, there's only 50 spots available for this launch, and it's opening tomorrow. So if you want to secure your space and get early notification of when this launch happens tomorrow, before I unleash it to 30,000 people on my list, then make sure you've signed up to the early bird list. And I'm going to try and get you a link to it. Right now I'm actually using my phone, is actually on some strange mechanism attached to my laptop, so it's a bit hard to see what I'm typing. Bear with me 2 seconds and I'll get you the link, and then you have the opportunity to secure your spot, get on the early bird list, and there'll be a much higher chance of you getting one of those 50 spots when the course opens tomorrow. So I'm just going to post the link here for you, and then we're going to get to your questions. There we go. Put it in the chat for you. Make sure you're on there. And you'll get early notification of a few hours before the actual course opens to everybody else. So I'm just going to reattach you on here. There we go. Okay, nice and steady the camera today. Had a few people whining that it was wobbly, so I thought I'd get something to make it more steady. I hope you've enjoyed that experience. Let's have a look. So we've got a few people asking questions and stuff, which is awesome. I love that. So Ben says, I sent PayPal for my first order, haven't received it yet. Would you say that's okay? Depends how long it's been, Ben, and how long the supplier says it would take PayPal's great, actually. If your supplier can do PayPal, then I would put that as a preference. I would say try and do PayPal. It causes a bit of a problem for Chinese suppliers in my experience. Sometimes they say it can take 30 days for the money to reach them or something. And I guess that's true. I don't know why they'd lie to me about it. As long as you're covering the fees and everything, they'd have no reason to lie. So I assume that's the truth. But if you can get PayPal, great. But yeah, it depends how long since you ordered it, Ben. So if you let me know when you placed the order, I could tell you whether it's perhaps normal or not. But chase them up, man. And if anything goes wrong, then talk to PayPal. And Ben also says TT, which is bank transfer payments, seem to only be available to the US. So that's, that's not true because I've done international payments several times, but I don't do it through Alibaba. I do it directly through my internet banking. So I sign into my internet banking. I think you have to go into the bank and tell them you want to make international transfers and actually up your limit because they'll give you a limit. Some banks are awkward. Like I have to do mine between, I think, 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. UK time during the day. And I always forget, and it's like 3:30, and I'm like, oh shit, I was meant to do the transfer. But yeah, speak to your bank about it, man. It should be possible. You just get the IBAN and the BIC from the manufacturer, and then you can send them the stock. It should be okay. In the UK, awesome. We've got a load of you doing arbitrage. Great stuff, guys. When you've got enough money, guys, if you're doing the arbitrage right now, and you just, it's a hustle, isn't it? It takes time to get products, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. Just got a message about that link. And it takes time. It's a hustle, right? You're going to love private labels. As soon as you've got, say, 2 or 3 grand for stock, it is going to change your life when you start to do private labels, I promise. Sam says, I've ordered a sample of a product from China and it's arrived and I'm really happy with it. I have a logo and an arrangement for private labeling the product. I want to sell it in the USA. What minimum order would you suggest for the first order? And how would you get the product to Amazon USA warehouse? I'm in the UK, by the way. Hey, Sam, man. How's it going? Okay, great questions, man. So you've got your sample, which is awesome. You've seen the product, you like it. You want to run with it. Good stuff, man. So in terms of a minimum order, in order to, the thing is, what you want to avoid happening is getting the stock into the Amazon warehouse and then not being able to restock in time. Let's say you've chosen an awesome product and it's got heaps of volume, not too much competition value and everything else, right? It's going to sell. This thing's going to sell like 5, 10, 20 times a day. So you want to calculate how long it's going to take for that stuff to sell out and make sure you can get a new order in before you run out of stock. Reason why is because you don't want the ranking of your product to start creeping up when you've got no stock. And then if you're completely out of stock for your product, you're going to lose all the hard work you put into building up the visibility of your product in the search results. So I'd say like 300 is a good amount, but it depends how quickly your product's going to sell. So I do a calculation and just figure out how long the production time is with the factory in China, figure out how long it takes to get the product shipped here, and figure out what your cash flow is like, so if you can afford another order, and then keep those figures in mind and figure out a number that's going to serve you and enable you to have enough time to reorder before you run out of stock. Paolo's got a great question, man. This is something that is also very important. And he says, what price range should we start at to make at least 2K per month in profit? Great question, man. So when it comes to pricing and amount of profit in sales with e-commerce, the thing is, e-commerce is like you're making transactional sales, right? There's no influence required. You don't have to really convince somebody to buy like a garlic press, do you? You just list it up, and if they like it, they're like, buy, add it to cart. That's the beautiful thing about e-commerce. So it's not necessarily about how much you want to price your products for or how much profit you want to make, because you could make 50p profit, like Tesco's probably do. Like they make 1.5% profit. They made 54 billion last year. They did 1.5% profit. They're still in profit, right? But they do lots of volume. So the point I'm making is not necessarily the profit margins, but when it comes to price range, you want to be within the range that gives you enough margin for profit, if you include things like VAT, customs, shipping, marketing and everything, but not too expensive so people have to think twice before buying the stuff you're selling, if that makes cents. So I'd say between £15 at the cheapest, or dollars, and £60 at the most expensive. Now I've got products along all of those points, all of those price points, and I can tell you the more expensive products, like I've got a product that's around the £30 mark, sometimes I put it up to 35 or down to 28, but that product is one of my favourites because the profit margin is so big, and I had to do the same amount of work to sell that product to a product that I've got that's $16.99, and I make less profit. Same amount of work, same amount of researching, negotiation with the supplier, getting the stuff in with the freight forwarder, all that stuff's the same, but the profit's more, right? So if you can get a product that's a premium end for the marketplace and is slightly more expensive, I would do that, man. It's definitely worth it. But yeah, to answer your question, in terms of price range, between 15 to 60 pounds or dollars. Ben says, do you ever sell your private label products outside of Amazon, such as eBay or on e-commerce websites and stuff? You know what, man, it's so funny. When you start selling private label products on Amazon, you notice that little cheeky drop shippers on eBay will be drop shipping your stock. So other people are making money off my products. It's really funny. And, you know, who can blame them, man? And it makes me more sales. So other people are doing that right now. But yes, I also do it on eBay. I occasionally will drop ship my own products from the Amazon warehouse to eBay sellers as well. Darren says private label is dead on Amazon. Conclusive, well-educated, well-thought-out point there from Darren. Cheers, man. Not from my experience, but it's a belief system. Ed says, if you had a product that sells, say, 20 items a day, how many could you expect to sell in the UK? Is there a general percentage figure we can expect? If you have a product that sells 20 items a day, how many could you expect to sell in the UK? Oh, I see what you mean. So if you've got a product that's doing 20 sales a day in the US, how does that translate to the UK? It's very difficult to give an answer because every product and every marketplace and every category is going to be different. I mean, it just depends, man. Like, it's very hard to give a percentage. The thing is with the US, and the difference between the US and the UK, the US, there's a lot more volume, obviously, right? You're selling to, like, what, 300 million people. So there's a lot more volume, a lot more sales, a lot more money going through the marketplace. But the US Amazon marketplace is a lot more evolved than the UK. So while there's more volume, there's also more competition. So in the UK, there's more opportunities, but each one of those opportunities might not be as profitable as it would be if it was in the US, because there's more people, more eyes on the product. So, I don't know, both marketplaces are great, and you just need to know how to play each one and adjust your criteria accordingly, and just look out for decent opportunities in both. But in terms of a percentage between either country, it does vary, and I don't have a particular answer for you. Awesome. Richard says, what about meeting the safety standards like BS EN 713? Man, I'm not too clued up on things like that. When it comes to safety standards, making sure you're meeting Amazon's terms and conditions and legal things, what I do, here's the way I do it, right? I'll speak to my supplier to find out if they know of anything in Europe that I need to be complying by. And also I'll speak to Amazon. And if I have any kind of hunch that something could go wrong, I'll speak to a solicitor and have a consultation with the solicitor to ask if there's anything I need to watch out for with the particular product that I'm going to sell. So in terms of that specific safety standard that you put there, Richard, I'm not exactly sure how to meet it or even what it is, to be honest with you. Please do let me know if you do. But I just check with every product that I import that it's all okay, and I think that's the best thing to do. And you can get clues from other sellers out there. Like if Amazon is selling a similar product to you, they're obviously going to be complying with most things, and you can see if they have any warnings or labels or anything on their products that you can imitate and put on yours as well. Richard says, when buying from Alibaba, should I use a third party to arrange customs and shipping? If so, any recommendations in the UK? Yes, I would use a freight forwarder. I'd find, there's loads of them, man. Just type UK freight forwarder into Google and connect with one, have a chat with a couple of them, see how you get on with them. And there's lots of very good ones dotted around. So have a look. And yeah, I wouldn't do it yourself. Probably, again, like I don't like hassle, man. I like everyone else to be handling my boxes, and Greg Jones is in here right now. He handles some of my boxes. Need to drop him an email or two, but I don't like dealing with that stuff, man. I get RJJ Freight to deal with mine, but you can find any kind of freight forwarder that works for you. Just build relationships with these companies and choose one that works well with you. Ben says, if you have private label product with custom branding, stickers, laser etching and stuff, can copycats somehow piggyback on your listing at all? Great question, man. So look, this is how it works legally. If a product has your brand on the listing, then it is a private label product. If it is your product and you've created it, no matter what you've done, you put a sticker on it or you've written on it with biro, it is yours, right? So that means that if somebody else comes on and they haven't bought the product directly from you, they have listed illegitimate stock. Now, one of the awesome things about a lot of these brand restrictions coming into play is that Amazon are actually giving private labelers more power when it comes to dealing with hijackers, right? So we can just get our products restricted, and I don't know how this is progressing in the UK, but in the US it's happening a lot more. So the way I deal with hijackers basically is I just send them a nasty email. And I just say, look, you're infringing on copyright. This is my product. You're dealing with fake stock here because you haven't bought it from me. So either remove the product from my listing in 24 hours, or I'm going to contact Amazon, file a complaint and get you kicked off and potentially suspended from the platform. And it sounds harsh, but it's not arbitrage. Like if they're listing on your listing, private label, and imitating your private label product, then they're pissing off your customers, right? Because your customer's going to get fake stock, and I've had this happen to me, fake stock, and leave a bad review, and it's going to go against the wealth of good reviews that you've been putting on the platform and working towards. So don't stand for it, man. If somebody hijacks your product, just send them a nasty email and just say, look, get the hell off my listing, otherwise I'm going to tell Amazon. And usually, like, these people are just trying to make a quick buck and jump on your listing anyway. They'll clear off, and you usually won't have any problems. Great question though, man. Ed says, what's the biggest hurdle to sell on Amazon US when based in the UK? That's a good question, man. There are hurdles. I'd say the biggest hurdle is the psychology of it, knowing that the products aren't on the same island as you. Logistically, it's very simple. It's all the same. It's all the same. You just find a freight forwarder in the US, like FBA Forward, who will do everything for you, including prep, and send the stock into your account and make sure it's as Amazon want it to be. Or get the supplier, if you trust your supplier enough, get them to prep the products properly before they go on the shipping container or on the air, so they can be delivered straight to the warehouse. It's all the same, really, if you're in the UK, Ed. And I mean, logistically, you can still do the whole process from a laptop, so it shouldn't be too different. The only problem, like I said, is psychology, and knowing that the stuff isn't local to you can be a bit weird and a bit freaky, and that scares some people. Hope that answers your question. Ben says, that makes sense, thanks. Awesome. Well, guys, you had some awesome questions. I'm happy to sit around and take more questions if you guys want to chat. Let me know how your business is going and everything. I have to tell you, I'm absolutely looking forward to Q4 2016, man. The amount of private labels I've got in the pipeline is ridiculous. It is piling up. I'm focusing a lot more on the strategy now, and it is just awesome. Compared to arbitrage, I love arbitrage. I still do arbitrage, but private labels is where it's at, man. Once you've got the resources, once you've got, say, 3k or more in capital you can put aside and invest, you should be doing private labels, at least starting the process, because they really are hands-off and fun. And I tell you what, something else that I didn't realise about private labels, which is really awesome, is when you see sales of a product which you have created. That is a very special feeling you can't get from really doing arbitrage. You've literally seen this product go from the Chinese manufacturer, you've put your own branding on it, you've tweaked the design, looked for what the marketplace is asking for, put your own heart and soul into it. It's an amazing feeling when you start to see sales, because you're like, man, I've actually done something that people want to pay for. It's an amazing feeling. And I'll tell you, it's like a bullet through your heart when you get a bad review on that same note as well. So you've got that lovely experience to come as well on the same token. Okay, let's have a look. Jacob says, how would you estimate all of the costs associated with private label percentage-wise? Sale price on Amazon 100%. How much percent should you estimate for purchase from Alibaba, shipping to UK, shipping to Amazon warehouse, and everything else? Great question, man. So, Jacob, hey Jacob, man, how you doing? So Jacob says, how do you estimate costs? How do you guess what the profit is after your sale price on Amazon? Well, I was looking in the FBA Secrets group the other day, and Lorna, I don't know if Lorna's on this on this broadcast, but she made an awesome point. She said divide it into thirds. Third, 33% for your product cost and shipping and everything and customs and everything. 30% for Amazon fees and FBA fees and marketing, and then 30% profit. Right, 33% profit. So divide it into thirds. So I'd estimate that usually, if you do everything right, then your profit percentage will be around about 33%. Mine, to be honest, a bit lower than that, probably after marketing and stuff. Maybe they're 30% with my private labels. But that's kind of how I estimate it. I mean, it does vary depending on the product. And you want to make sure, this is why going through all the stuff we talked about today with mitigating and managing risks is important, right? You don't want stock that's going to be a hassle, because then your cost price goes up, your shipping price goes up, your return rates go up, and therefore your overall cost goes up and your profits come down. You don't want something that's going to be an electronic, because it will have a high return rate and it could be a massive issue. So if you've done all the things I've talked about in this presentation, avoided risk and got decent product that's going to sell and not be a hassle, then I think the 33% rule applies. A third for product costs and shipping and everything, a third for fees, and a third for profit. Kevin says, hey, I've identified 2 similar products. Should I list one or both? Great question. So Kevin, are you talking about arbitrage there? Or private labels? Let me know, man, and I'll get to the answer, because it would depend on what strategy you're talking about. Sheila says, if you're UK based and sell in the US, do you have to pay US taxes? You have to pay income tax in the UK, but you have to pay sales tax in the US. So if you want to know a little bit more about sales tax in the US, you can get Amazon to actually handle all of this for you, which is beautiful. And man, some of the stuff Amazon does for us is amazing. Like, yes, there's a lot of things that could be better, but really, if you compare it to a lot of other platforms out there, they are amazing. And you can get them to do all of your tax for you from the sales tax perspective. So if you go to a website called taxjar.com, you'll learn a little bit more about sales tax and how it works and how it applies differently in different states depending on where your nexus is and where you ship products. It's all complicated, and I've just got it set up and I just leave it. But get in touch with an American tax specialist or chartered accountant. I can't remember what they call them. Is it? Can't remember what they call them. Basically, an accountant in the US. Get all your tax. There's a section in the US account where you can get it all set up, and then Amazon will deduct the sales tax for you and pay it accordingly. Claire says, how do you work out how to split your profits? How much you keep back for reinvesting, reordering? How much to living expenses and how much for tax? That's a great question, Claire. Awesome question. So what I do is I just talk to my accountant regularly and ask him if there's a better way I could organise these things and help me with that. I am not the most organised person when it comes to cash flow. I have several times where I'm like, my money's all in different places, and I could definitely be more organised. So I'm probably not the person to ask when it comes to keeping my money, very, very regimented and being strategic like that. But I'd say a good accountant will help you with that kind of thing. But from a basic perspective, you want to make sure you can keep a steady flow of sales on your account. That's the main, if you were to look at like all of the millions of things you could look at when it comes to cash flow and when to spend and what to save and where to put bits of your money and things, the 20% that gets you the 80% of the results and the success is making sure you have money for reorders of stock and also money for marketing. So it depends on the product you're importing, but let's say you spent 2k on a product and it's selling out in 3 months. You want to make sure at the end of 3 months you've got another 2k to import more stock and keep stock. You don't want things going out of stock, basically. It's not a good idea because you lose all the work that you've done to build up the sales rank of your product. Awesome, guys. By the way, you'll notice there was a link there that I posted in the group. If you're interested in getting on the early bird list for Private Label Beast launching tomorrow evening, everybody on the early bird list will get early notification of the cart opening, and there's only 50 spots. So if you want to get early notification, click on that link. It's in the comments somewhere. I don't know, it's disappeared now. Scroll down a bit, and you'll be able to secure your spot before they all run out. Let's have a look. Tayak says, how many private label products do you have now? How long has it taken to build them up? Have you ditched any of them? Great question, man. Yes. So to answer your second question, yes, I've ditched some, man. The first one I ever imported was a mistake, but kind of a learning curve. It was a very, very cheap product that you could get very, very low minimum order quantities of, which was good in the beginning because I spent literally about £100 on my first import. But I mean, it was low-hanging fruit, and you had hundreds of other like kind of private labelers who were too scared to go ahead with their own imports and spend bigger amounts of money on stock. So they were all doing the same thing as me, and then the marketplace was flooded. And the main thing I didn't listen to with that product was I didn't check there was enough volume, and I didn't make sure I was adding value. And then the competition basically got flooded as well. So that was a classic case of me not checking whether the product is going to check all the boxes and have those 3 elements to make sure it's going to sell. To answer your question, how many private label products I have right now, I've got 6 actively selling, and one of them is being restocked as we speak. Awesome. Kevin says, according to his previous question, basically list to identical private label products. Right, so if you're listing... Right, so this is the thing, man. I assume you're importing a private label product and you've seen other private label products on the marketplace which are the same model as yours. So you can't list on those listings because you're not the brand owner. Presumably, the person who owns that listing has a different brand to you. So if you were to list on his listing, you'd be a hijacker. So you want to create your own listing for the product, okay? And to be honest with you, I would never import something that's identical because you're not adding any value to the marketplace. You're violating the value part of making sure your stock sells. You want to be offering something different, if that makes sense. So don't import something that's identical. Let me know if I think I understood what you're asking in your situation well there. If I didn't, then correct me and I'll answer exactly what's going on for you. Let's have a look. Jacob says, would you start your first private label product in the US? I live in the UK. Man, it's up to you. Like, both marketplaces are awesome. You just have to know how to play them and know where the opportunities are. And to be honest, the criteria is the same in either marketplace. The only difference is perhaps allowing for more revenue in the US. So it's up to you, man. Just do whatever. If you're really scared, if you're interested in launching in the US, then do it. Just go for it. But if it freaks you out, then just launch in the UK. It's totally up to you, man. Sergey says, if I would like to sell the same product that is already on Amazon, let's say a neck pillow, with quite established brand on it, will I be able to sell the same model of the pillow from Chinese manufacturer with my brand on it, or will I get in trouble? Great question, Sergey. So the answer to your question is you can. You can sell the exact same model of the pillow with your brand on it, because there can be several, as long as it's not patented, which I assume it isn't because it's only a neck pillow, right? But you can do that. You can offer the exact same model as somebody else and put your brand on it, But again, man, you want to add value with your product. You want to do something different. So at least have better packaging or something better, a bundle it with something, or just make it better. But you won't get in trouble for it. You just won't make too many sales. Mike says, excellent presentation tonight. Cheers for being here, man. Absolute pleasure. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Great stuff, guys. So look, any more questions? Happy to take them. If not, then make sure you get yourself on the early bird list, guys. It's going to be launching tomorrow with Private Label Beast. I'm excited. I can't wait to see all the new students jumping in. It's going to be awesome. So get on that early bird list if you're interested in investing in a course that will help you put all this stuff into practice and answer all your questions. Great stuff. Sheila says, great presentation tonight, Ollie. Learned a lot. Thanks for being here, Sheila. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. There we go. We're still live. I somehow pressed the button on my phone. Great stuff. I've even got my lights set up for today. How cool is that? Let's have a look. Kevin says, alright, so getting back to your question, man, let me answer this properly for you. Sorry, Ollie, what I meant is I have seen 2 similar products on Alibaba that I could private label. Only main difference would be price. So I would almost be competing against myself. Okay. That's an interesting scenario. Look, man, if the revenue's there and you're adding value with both of the products, and again, there's not too much competition, then you can go for it. Like, if all of those statistics make sense. I'll do one at a time, though. Do you already have one of them imported? Is one of them already selling? I assume not. So, yeah. All comes down to making sure they check all the boxes. You could definitely import both and compete with yourself, because there's always going to be competition. Not yet. Yeah, okay. So there's always going to be competition, man. So you can compete with yourself. That's totally cool. As long as you can add value, there's not too much competition already, and there's enough volume with the product, then yeah, go for it, man, and import it. Import one, get it to sell, and then potentially import the second one as well. If it fills a gap and it checks all the boxes of a hot seller, like we discussed earlier. Awesome, guys. Any other questions, do let me know. I'm going to stick around for a couple of minutes, then it's time to eat because I'm getting a bit hungry. What time is it? 5 to 8. Well, it's 5 to 7 for you guys. You're in the UK, aren't you? I'm going to do a couple more Facebook Lives next week. I'm going to be in Switzerland at Tom Wade's event, which is going to be absolutely hilarious. There's going to be a lot of shenanigans going down there, I'm sure. If you have any subjects you'd like me to talk about on a Facebook Live, or anything you want me to discuss, any questions you want me to answer, do type them in on the Automate Amazon Facebook group, or comment here, tag me, and let me know, because I'll be glad to direct whatever it is you want me to talk about in the Facebook Live. So that'd be great. I always try and aim these at what I think you guys would find the most valuable. Yeah, anything you want me to talk about, just let me know. Awesome. Ali says, great talk. Thanks, man. Cheers for being here. Thanks for being here, Pradeep. Great stuff, guys. Look, it's been awesome. If you just joined, or you joined halfway through and you missed it, I think there's going to be a recording of this inside the Automate Amazon UK group. I think Facebook keeps one here. So you can go back and watch it again. I'll put it on YouTube as well. You guys sign up to my YouTube channel if you haven't already and check it out there. Hopefully I'll help you out. Definitely get signed up to that early bird list if you're interested in joining Private Label Beast and you want to get a spot before they all get taken up. It's probably not going to open for another little while. Last time I opened it was officially last July, and the price has doubled since then. So make sure you take advantage of this opportunity. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the stream with me tonight. It's been fun. I love talking to you guys and answering questions and everything, giving my 2 cents. So have an awesome evening, and I'll speak to you very soon. Take care, keep believing, and I'll catch you soon.